When Arya Moonstone watches her destined mate marry another woman at the altar, her world shatters into a million pieces. Rejected and broken-hearted, she flees into the wilderness, only to be rescued by the most powerful Alpha King in centuries. Caspian Blackwater has waited 300 years for his true mate, and he's not letting ancient pack politics stand in his way. Subscribe now to witness how second chances can become the greatest love stories of all time. Arya Moonstone stands at the back of the packed church, her heart shattering with each word of the wedding ceremony unfolding before her. The man she's loved since childhood, her destined mate, confirmed by the moon goddess herself on her 18th birthday, is pledging eternal devotion to another woman. Do you, Marcus Shadowpine, take Victoria Sterling to be your lawfully wedded wife? The officiant's words echo through the cathedral like a death knell for Arya's dreams. I do, Marcus replies, his voice strong and certain, never once glancing toward the back where Arya stands frozen in disbelief. Through their incomplete mate bond, Arya can feel Marcus's emotions, satisfaction, ambition and cold calculation, but no love. Not for Victoria, and certainly not for her. The bond that should have been sacred, unbreakable, means nothing to him compared to the political alliance this marriage provides. You may kiss the bride. The sound of applause thunders through Arya's enhanced hearing as Marcus claims his bride with theatrical passion. Victoria Sterling, daughter of the wealthiest pack in the region, beautiful, connected, everything Arya's middle-class bloodline could never offer, smiles triumphantly as cameras flash around them. Arya turns and flees before anyone can notice her presence, her wolf howling in anguish as the mate bond stretches and tears with every step away from Marcus. She crashes through the church doors into the cool evening air, gasping for breath as physical pain accompanies her emotional devastation. Arya, her best friend Emma, catches up to her in the parking lot, concern etched across her features. You shouldn't have come. I told you this would only hurt more. I had to see, Arya whispers, tears streaming down her cheeks. I had to know if he would go through with it. He chose power over love, Emma says gently, wrapping supportive arms around her shaking friend. That's his loss, not yours, but it doesn't feel like Marcus's loss. It feels like Arya's entire world ending. The mate bond, weakened by his rejection but not completely severed, sends waves of agony through her system every time Marcus touches his new wife. Through the church windows, she can see them posing for photographs, looking like the perfect couple while her soul bleeds. I need to get out of here, Arya manages through her tears. Away from the pack, away from all of this. Where will you go? Emma asks worriedly. The Wilderness Preserve. Somewhere I can shift and run until this pain stops. Arya pulls away from her friend's embrace, her decision crystallizing through the grief. Don't try to follow me, Em. I need to process this alone. But Arya, the preserve borders unclaimed territory. There are rogues, dangerous wolves who... I don't care. Arya cuts her off, her voice hollow with despair. Nothing out there could hurt worse than staying here watching Marcus with his wife. She drives to the edge of the Wilderness Preserve as the sun sets, parking her car at the abandoned trailhead where few humans venture. The moment she steps into the forest, Arya allows her wolf to take control, shifting into her silver-grey coat with relief that borders on desperation. Running helps, but not enough. Every stride away from the pack territory should ease the mate bond's pull, but instead the connection seems to stretch like a rubber band that won't snap. Marcus's betrayal follows her into the wild, a constant reminder of her inadequacy. Hours pass in a blur of desperate flight through moonlit forests. Arya runs until her paws bleed, until exhaustion threatens to collapse her enhanced healing abilities. Only then does she realize how far she's traveled, deep into unclaimed territory where pack law offers no protection. The attack comes without warning. 4 rogue wolves emerge from the shadows, their eyes glowing with feral hunger and territorial aggression. They're larger than normal werewolves, scarred by years of violent survival, and they see Arya as easy prey. "Pack wolf!" Their leader snarls as they circle her. Far from home and all alone, Arya tries to run, but exhaustion has sapped her strength. The rogues close in with predatory patience, savoring her fear. Just as their leader prepares to strike, a roar echoes through the forest that freezes every wolf in place. Power, ancient, absolute, terrifying, washes over the clearing like a tidal wave of supernatural authority. The Alpha King has arrived. The figure that emerges from the forest shadows is unlike any werewolf Arya has ever seen. Caspian Blackwater stands nearly 7 feet tall in human form, with midnight black hair and eyes like molten gold that seem to hold the wisdom of centuries. His presence radiates such overwhelming alpha power that even the rogue wolves instinctively submit, dropping to their bellies with whimpers of terror. "Mine," he says simply, the single word carrying enough authority to make reality itself bend around his will. The rogues flee without a sound, disappearing into the darkness as if they never existed. Arya remains frozen in her wolf form, caught between gratitude and a new kind of fear. Everyone knows the legends about Caspian Blackwater, the Alpha King who rules the largest territory in North America, who's lived for over 3 centuries without finding his mate, whose power could reshape the supernatural world. "Shift," Caspian commands gently, and something in his voice makes obedience automatic. Arya transforms back to human form, immediately aware of her vulnerable state, naked, exhausted, emotionally shattered. But Caspian moves with practiced courtesy, removing his expensive jacket to wrap around her shoulders without looking at anything but her face. "What is your name?" he asks, his voice gentler than she expected from someone with his reputation. "Arya Moonstone," she whispers, her voice hoarse from crying and shifting. "Moonstone." Recognition flickers in his golden eyes. "I know your bloodline. Ancient lunar magic, strong genetic markers. What are you doing in unclaimed territory, little wolf?" The endearment, spoken with such casual tenderness, nearly breaks Arya's fragile composure. "Running away," she admits. "From my pack, from my mate who married someone else, from everything." Caspian's expression grows dangerously cold. "Your mate rejected you? Chose a more advantageous alliance," Arya clarifies, though the words taste like ash in her mouth. "Political marriage over mate bond." The temperature around them seems to drop several degrees as Caspian's power responds to his anger. "What is his name?" "Marcus Shadowpine of the Northern Ridge Pack." Arya pulls his jacket tighter around herself. "But it doesn't matter now. The damage is done. Damage can be repaired," Caspian says with quiet certainty. "And foolish alphas can learn the price of spurning moon goddess gifts." He produces a cell phone from his pocket, speed dialing a number with efficient movements. "Bring a car to coordinates I'm sending, and prepare the guest suite at the estate. We have a wounded wolf who needs sanctuary." "I can't impose on," Arya starts to protest. "You can and you will," Caspian interrupts, his golden eyes holding hers with compelling intensity. "Pack law grants me the right to offer sanctuary to any wolf in distress. More importantly, my personal honor demands I protect someone who's been wronged by pack politics." As they wait for his security team to arrive, Caspian sits on a fallen log and gestures for Arya to join him. The silence between them isn't uncomfortable. It's surprisingly peaceful, like the calm after a devastating storm. "How long have you been searching for your mate?" Arya asks eventually, curiosity overcoming her grief. 312 years, Caspian replies without hesitation. "Since the night I first shifted at 18 and felt the emptiness where my other half should be. That's a very long time to be alone." "Yes." His gaze turns toward the star-filled sky. "But some things are worth waiting for, even if the wait spans centuries." Something in his tone makes Arya study his profile more carefully. There's loneliness there, ancient and deep, but also a patience that speaks of absolute faith in destiny's timing. "What if she never comes?" Arya asks softly. Caspian looks at her then, and for a moment his golden eyes hold an expression she can't quite interpret. "Then I'll have lived knowing I never settled for less than what my soul truly needed." The words hit Arya like a revelation. Marcus settled for political advantage instead of mate-bond destiny. He chose what was easy and profitable over what was right and sacred. "I wish I had that kind of faith," she whispers. "Perhaps," Caspian says as headlights appear through the trees. "You just need to rediscover it." Caspian's estate is a sprawling masterpiece of modern architecture, nestled in thousands of acres of protected wilderness. As their car winds up the private drive, Arya glimpses other buildings through the trees, training facilities, guest houses, what appears to be a small village designed to house an entire pack. "How many wolves live here?" she asks, overwhelmed by the scope of his territory. "Currently about 800, Caspian replies, his attention focused on his tablet as he handles what appears to be urgent pack business. Though the numbers fluctuate as various situations require different levels of security. The main house is breathtaking, glass and stone construction that seems to grow from the landscape itself, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of moonlit mountains. Arya feels intimidated by the obvious wealth and power represented in every detail. "Dr. Elena Martinez will examine you," Caspian explains as they enter a foyer that could fit her entire childhood home. Standard procedure for any wolf who's been through traumatic rejection. The mate bond severance can cause lasting psychological and physical damage if not properly treated. "I haven't severed the bond," Arya admits quietly. "I don't know how." Caspian stops walking, his golden eyes sharpening with concern. "How long ago was the rejection?" "Tonight. The wedding was tonight." The words come out hollow, emptied of emotion through sheer exhaustion. "Arya." Caspian's voice carries a gentleness that makes tears threaten again. "An incomplete rejection bond left untreated can kill you. The constant emotional feedback, the physical pain every time he's intimate with his wife, your wolf will eventually give up trying to survive it." The casual mention of Marcus's intimacy with Victoria sends a spike of agony through Arya's chest. Through their weakened bond, she can sense his satisfaction, his physical pleasure with another woman, and it feels like dying slowly. "Make it stop," she whispers, doubling over as phantom sensations flood her system. "Please, I can't take this." Caspian moves with supernatural speed, catching her as she collapses. His arms around her provide immediate relief, not because the bond pain disappears, but because his presence somehow buffers the worst of it. "Elena," he calls sharply, and within moments a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and medical bearing appears. "Incomplete rejection bond," Dr. Martinez asks, taking in Arya's condition with professional assessment less than 6 hours ago. She's receiving feedback from her mate's wedding night activities. Caspian's voice carries barely controlled fury at the situation. Dr. Martinez winces sympathetically. "We need to get her stabilized before the shock kills her. Bring her to the medical suite." The next few hours pass in a blur of medications, IV fluids, and careful monitoring as Dr. Martinez works to block the worst of the mate bond feedback. Caspian remains throughout, his presence providing an anchor point that keeps Arya tethered to consciousness. "The good news is that the bond isn't complete," Dr. Martinez explains once Arya's vitals stabilize. "Marcus never formally accepted you as his mate, which means severance is possible without permanent psychological damage." "What's the bad news?" Arya asks, though she's not sure she wants to know. "Severance requires either your mate's formal release or replacement by a stronger bond." Dr. Martinez glances meaningfully at Caspian. "Given his recent marriage, I doubt Marcus Shadowpine will provide the former. Replacement." Arya's exhausted mind struggles to process the implications. A true mate bond, properly formed and consummated, would override the incomplete connection, Caspian explains carefully. "But that would require finding your actual destined mate, not just someone willing to claim you." Something passes between Caspian and Dr. Martinez, a look loaded with meaning that Arya's too tired to interpret. The medications are making her drowsy, pulling her towards sleep that promises temporary escape from emotional pain. "Rest now," Caspian says softly, his hand brushing hair away from her face with surprising tenderness. You're safe here. The pain will lessen with time. As Arya drifts off to medicated sleep, she feels something she hasn't experienced since childhood. Complete security. Whatever else happens, she knows Caspian Blackwater will keep his word about Sanctuary. She just doesn't realize yet that Sanctuary might become something much more precious. Arya wakes to sunlight streaming through enormous windows and the sound of running water nearby. For a moment she's disoriented. The room is too luxurious, too peaceful, nothing like the sterile packhouse accommodation she's used to. Then memory crashes back. Marcus's wedding, her flight into dangerous territory, Caspian's rescue. Good, you're awake. Dr. Martinez enters carrying a breakfast tray and medical supplies. How are you feeling? Different, Arya admits, sitting up carefully. The constant ache in my chest is muted somehow. The medications are helping block the mate bond feedback, but they're temporary. Dr. Martinez begins checking her vitals with efficient professionalism. We need to discuss long-term options for your recovery. Before Arya can ask what that means, Caspian appears in the doorway. He's dressed casually in jeans and a black sweater, but somehow manages to look more commanding than most alphas in full formal wear. May I? He asks, waiting for her permission before entering fully. It's your house, Arya points out. Though she's grateful for his courtesy, it's your sanctuary, he corrects, moving to sit in the chair beside her bed. Which means your comfort and consent matter more than my property rights. The consideration in his gesture makes something warm unfurl in Arya's chest. Marcus never asked permission for anything, assuming his alpha status granted him access to whatever he wanted. I need to call my pack, Arya realizes. Let them know I'm safe. My friend Emma is probably worried sick. Already handled, Caspian produces her cell phone from his pocket. Emma received a message from your number explaining that you're taking time away to heal and you'll contact them when you're ready. Arya stares at the phone, noting dozens of missed calls and text messages. Marcus called. 17 times? Caspian's voice turns cold. Apparently, his new wife noticed his agitation last night and demanded an explanation. He told Victoria about me? The thought makes Arya feel sick. He told her he had pack business to handle. She's not stupid. She knows about mate bonds and incomplete rejections. The political marriage she entered includes dealing with her husband's supernatural complications. Dr. Martinez finishes her examination and makes notes in a tablet. Your vitals are much improved, but I'm concerned about the psychological aspects of your recovery. Rejected mate syndrome can trigger severe depression, self-worth issues, even suicidal ideation. I'm not suicidal, Arya protests. Not yet, Dr. Martinez agrees gently. But watching your mate build a life with someone else, feeling his intimate moments with another woman through a bond you can't control, that kind of sustained trauma breaks even strong wolves. Caspian's expression grows darker with each word. How long before permanent severance is possible? With traditional methods, months, maybe years. The incomplete bond has to weaken naturally before it can be safely broken. Dr. Martinez hesitates, then continues carefully. Unless she finds her true mate. Her genuine bond would override the false one immediately. But I thought Marcus was my true mate, Arya says, confusion evident in her voice. The recognition was unmistakable. Recognition can be influenced by proximity, shared experiences, even wishful thinking, Dr. Martinez explains. True mate bonds are rarer than most wolves realize. What you experienced with Marcus was likely compatibility, amplified by attraction, not destiny. Caspian has been unusually quiet during this exchange, his golden eyes fixed on Arya with an intensity that makes her pulse quicken. When he finally speaks, his voice carries an odd undertone. Would you like to take a walk around the grounds? Fresh air might help with your recovery. Arya nods, grateful for any distraction from her complicated medical situation. As they leave the medical suite, She catches Dr. Martinez, watching them with a knowing expression that suggests she sees something Arya doesn't understand yet. Outside, the estate grounds are even more impressive than she realized. Manicured gardens give way to natural forest, with paths winding between ancient trees toward distant mountains. The air carries scents of pine, wildflowers, and something else, something that makes her wolf stir with interest for the first time since Marcus's betrayal. "Caspian," she says as they walk, "why are you helping me? I'm nobody special, just a rejected wolf with no political value." He stops walking and turns to face her, his golden eyes holding depths of emotion that take her breath away. "Arya," he says softly, "what if I told you that you're the most important person in my 300-year existence?" Arya stares at Caspian in shock, her mind struggling to process his words. "That's impossible. We just met, did we?" Caspian asks quietly, moving closer until she can see golden flecks in his dark eyes. "Haven't you been having dreams, Arya? Dreams of running through moonlit forests with a wolf you can't quite see, but know you'd recognize anywhere?" Arya's breath catches. She has been having those dreams, vivid ones, that leave her feeling more rested than actual sleep. "How could you know about—" "Because I've been having them too," Caspian admits, his voice rough with emotion. "For months, dreams of a silver wolf with eyes like starlight, and calling to me across distances I couldn't cross." "That doesn't mean anything," Arya protests. Though her heart races with possibilities, she's afraid to acknowledge. Dreams are just dreams. "Are they?" Caspian extends his hand palm up, the same gesture he used the night before. "Touch me, Arya. Let yourself feel what your soul already knows." Every rational part of Arya's mind screams that this is too fast, too impossible, too much like the fairy tales she's learned not to believe in. But her wolf is practically vibrating with anticipation, recognizing something her human consciousness refuses to accept. Slowly, she places her hand in his. The connection is immediate and overwhelming, not the forced compatibility she felt with Marcus, but something deeper, more fundamental. It's like every cell in her body suddenly remembers what it was created for. Like a missing piece of her soul clicks into perfect alignment. Through their touch, she feels Caspian's emotions as clearly as her own. 3 centuries of loneliness, patient waiting, and now explosive joy at finally finding what he searched for. His wolf recognizes hers with absolute certainty, calling to her with a song that makes her very bones resonate. "Oh," she breathes, tears spilling down her cheeks as understanding crashes over her. "Oh God, your true mate," Caspian finishes, his own eyes bright with unshed tears. "What you felt for Marcus was a shadow, an echo. This is the real bond, Arya. This is what the moon goddess intended." Arya feels the incomplete connection to Marcus snapping like a severed rope. The painful feedback finally stopping as her soul recognizes where it truly belongs. The relief is so profound she nearly collapses, caught by Caspian's strong arms as he pulls her against his chest. "I waited 300 years for you," he murmurs against her hair. "Every lonely night, every empty decade was worth it to find you." "But I'm nobody special," Arya protests weakly. "I'm not powerful or connected or—" "You're mine," Caspian interrupts, his voice carrying absolute conviction. "The other half of my soul, the answer to every prayer I've offered to the moon goddess. Your worth isn't measured by pack politics or bloodline advantages, Arya. It's measured by the fact that you're perfect for me." Arya looks up into his golden eyes and sees truth there, pure and unwavering. This man, this alpha king who could have anyone, wants her not for what she can provide, but for who she is. "What about Marcus?" she asks. "The pack will expect—" "Marcus made his choice." Caspian's voice turns cold and dangerous. "He rejected his mate for political gain. The consequences of that decision are his to bear, not yours. But everyone will think I'm rebounding, moving on too quickly. Everyone will think whatever serves their own agendas." Caspian cups her face in his hands with infinite gentleness. "The only opinion that matters is yours, Arya. Do you feel the bond between us?" She nods, unable to deny the rightness of their connection. Do you trust that I would never hurt you the way Marcus did? Yes, she whispers without hesitation. Then let me court you properly, Caspian says, his voice dropping to an intimate rumble. Let me show you how a true mate cherishes and protects what belongs to them. Let me prove that some love stories are worth waiting centuries for. Arya stands in the gardens of an Alpha King's estate, holding hands with the most powerful werewolf in North America, and realizes that sometimes the worst heartbreak leads to the most beautiful beginning. Okay, she says simply, and watches joy transform Caspian's ancient features into something radiant. The courting of Arya Moonstone is about to begin. Caspian's version of courting proves to be unlike anything Arya has ever experienced. Instead of the casual assumption of possession she knew with Marcus, Caspian treats her like precious treasure that must be earned rather than claimed. I've arranged for you to have a private suite in the East Wing, he explains as they walk through the mansion's corridors. Your own space, your own schedule, no pressure or expectations beyond healing and getting to know each other properly. The suite is breathtaking, a living area with a stone fireplace, bedroom with a king-size bed that faces floor-to-ceiling windows, and a bathroom that resembles a luxury spa. Fresh flowers fill crystal vases, and soft music plays from hidden speakers. Caspian, this is too much, Arya protests. Overwhelmed by the obvious expense and thoughtfulness. This is the minimum you deserve, he corrects gently. A true mate should be pampered, protected, and cherished. I have 300 years of courting gestures to make up for. Over the following days, Arya discovers what it means to be pursued by someone with unlimited resources and infinite patience. Caspian sends her flowers every morning, not generic roses, but carefully chosen bouquets that reflect her preferences he somehow remembers from casual conversations. He leaves handwritten notes with her meals, sharing thoughts about pack business or observations about the wildlife visible from her windows. But more meaningful than the expensive gestures are the small intimacies. Caspian asks about her childhood, her dreams, her opinions on everything from literature to pack politics. He listens with complete attention, as if her thoughts are the most fascinating things he's ever heard. Tell me about your family, he requests during one of their evening walks through his private forest. Not much to tell, Arya replies. My parents died in a car accident when I was 16. I lived with my aunt until I turned 18 and could join the pack properly. That must have been lonely, Caspian observes, his voice gentle with understanding. It was. I think that's why I fixated on Marcus. He was popular, confident, everything I thought I wanted in a mate. Arya kicks at fallen leaves, embarrassed by her past naivety. I built up this fantasy about our future together without really seeing who he was. You saw his potential, not his character, Caspian agrees. It's a common mistake, especially for young wolves who haven't learned to trust their instincts over their hopes. What about you? Arya asks, curious about his past. 300 years is a long time to be alone. Were you ever tempted to settle for compatibility instead of destiny? Caspian considers the question as they reach a moonlit clearing, where wildflowers glow silver in the darkness. Several times, he admits. There were she-wolves who would have made suitable partners, who offered affection and alliance. But each time my wolf refused the connection. He knew, even when I doubted, that settling for less than perfect would be a betrayal of what we were meant to find. Weren't you ever lonely? Desperately. His honesty is raw and immediate. Centuries of watching other wolves find their mates, build families, create the kind of intimate partnership I could only imagine. There were decades when the loneliness nearly broke me. Arya stops walking and turns to face him. What kept you going? Faith, Caspian says simply. Faith that the moon goddess had a plan, that somewhere in the world was a wolf worth waiting for. Faith that when I finally found her, every lonely night would make sense. The way he looks at her when he says her makes Arya's breath catch. In his golden eyes, she sees devotion that spans centuries, patience that endured endless waiting, and love so pure it takes her breath away. "I don't know if I'm worth that kind of wait," she whispers. "You are." Caspian moves closer, his hands coming up to frame her face with reverent tenderness. "You're worth everything. Arya, every lonely year, every moment of doubt, every night I wondered if I was a fool for believing in destiny." He leans down until their foreheads touch, sharing breath and warmth in the moonlight. "You're worth it all." Arya closes her eyes and lets herself believe, for the first time in her life, that she might actually deserve a love story this beautiful. Arya's peaceful courtship is shattered when Marcus arrives at Caspian's estate unannounced, demanding to see his wayward pack member. The confrontation takes place in Caspian's formal office, with Arya present at her own insistence, despite both Alpha's protective instincts. "You had no right to steal my mate," Marcus accuses, his alpha dominance radiating outward in waves that would cower lesser wolves. Caspian remains seated behind his mahogany desk, completely unmoved by the display. "I had every right to offer sanctuary to a distressed wolf in my territory. Your mate, as I recall, married someone else 3 days ago. That was pack business, political necessity. That was betrayal," Arya interrupts, surprising herself with her own boldness. "You rejected our bond for a more advantageous alliance. You don't get to claim me now that it's convenient." Marcus's eyes flash with familiar manipulation tactics. "Arya, you don't understand the pressures I was under. The pack needed that sterling alliance to survive the economic downturn. I was protecting our future." "You were protecting your alpha position," Arya corrects, her newfound confidence growing stronger. "My feelings, our bond, the promises you made, none of that mattered compared to your political ambitions." "I can fix this," Marcus insists, moving closer to her chair. Victoria understands the situation. She's agreed to a marriage of convenience, while I maintain you as my true mate. You could be my Luna in everything but name. The casual assumption that she would accept such an arrangement makes Arya's wolf snarl with indignation. "You want me to be your secret mistress, while your wife gets the public position and pack recognition?" "It's better than hiding away in another alpha's territory," Marcus argues, his patience clearly wearing thin. Caspian stands smoothly, his movement so fluid and controlled that it carries more menace than Marcus's aggressive posturing. "I think," he says in a voice like velvet-covered steel, "you misunderstand the situation entirely." "Do I?" Marcus challenges, though he instinctively steps back as Caspian's true power begins to manifest. "Arya isn't hiding in my territory," Caspian explains with deadly calm. "She's being courted by me, as my destined mate, with the intention of becoming my Luna and Queen." The silence that follows this declaration is profound and dangerous. Marcus stares in shock while the temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees. "That's impossible," Marcus finally manages. "She's already bonded to me." "Was bonded," Dr. Martinez speaks from the doorway where she's been quietly observing. The incomplete connection severed naturally when she recognized her true mate. "I have the medical documentation if you'd like to review it." Marcus looks between them with growing disbelief. "True mate? You expect me to believe that the Alpha King's destined mate was hiding in my pack for years?" "Believe what you want." Caspian's voice carries centuries of authority. "The bond is recognized, documented, and will be formally celebrated within the month. Your opinion on the matter is irrelevant." "The Council will never accept this," Marcus threatens, grasping for any leverage. "A nobody from a middle-class bloodline becoming queen? It'll destabilize every political alliance in North America." "The Council," Caspian says with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes, "will accept whatever I present to them. My political position doesn't depend on their approval, Marcus. Yours, however, does." The threat hangs in the air like poisoned honey. Everyone in the room understands that Caspian could destroy Marcus's pack status with a single conversation to the right council members. "You're making a mistake." Marcus tries one last desperate appeal directly to Arya. "You think he loves you, but alphas like him collect beautiful things as trophies. You'll be replaced the moment someone more interesting catches his attention." The words hit their intended target, awakening every insecurity Arya has about her worthiness. For a moment, doubt creeps in. What if Marcus is right? What if Caspian's interest is just novelty that will fade? But then she looks at Caspian and sees 300 years of patient waiting in his golden eyes, sees devotion that could move mountains, sees love so pure and absolute that it burns away every shadow of uncertainty. "Get out," she tells Marcus, her voice steady and strong. "Get out of here and don't come back. I know exactly what I mean to Caspian, and it's more than I ever meant to you." Marcus leaves with threats and bluster, but they all know he has no real power here. Arya watches him go and realizes she's finally free, not just of his rejected bond, but of the girl who would have accepted crumbs of affection from an unworthy man. She's ready to become the queen she was always meant to be. Marcus's humiliation at Caspian's estate has consequences neither Arya nor the Alpha King anticipate. Within days of his return to Northern Ridgepack territory, Marcus begins making calls to every Alpha who has reason to resent Caspian's supreme authority. The response is swift and coordinated, a coalition of jealous Alphas united by their shared desire to see the Alpha King brought low. Intelligence reports indicate at least 6 pack leaders are planning something. Caspian's beta, Xavier Kane, reports during their morning security briefing. "Marcus has convinced them that your mating with Arya represents weakness they can exploit." "How so?" Arya asks, though she dreads the answer. "They claim a true Alpha King wouldn't need to rescue his mate from another pack," Xavier explains apologetically. "They're spreading rumors that you were damaged goods Marcus rejected, and Caspian only claimed you to spite a rival." The words sting, despite their obvious falseness, awakening the insecurities that Marcus deliberately triggered during his visit. Arya has been struggling with imposter syndrome ever since learning about her destined connection to Caspian. How can she, a nobody from a middle-class pack, possibly be worthy of the most powerful Alpha in North America? "Let them come," Caspian responds with calm confidence. "I've faced challenges to my authority before. Not like this." Xavier's concern is evident. They're planning to invoke the ancient right of worthiness. If 6 or more Alphas formally challenge your choice of mate, pack law requires you to either defend her honor through combat or submit to council judgment about her suitability. Caspian goes very still, his golden eyes flickering with an emotion Arya can't identify. "They wouldn't dare." "They absolutely would," Xavier confirms grimly. "The right hasn't been invoked in over 2 centuries, but it's still legally binding. 6 Alphas, formal challenge, combat, or council judgment." Arya feels ice forming in her stomach as the implications sink in. "Combat means what, exactly?" "Single combat against each challenging Alpha in sequence," Caspian explains, his voice tight with controlled anger. 6 fights to the death or submission, with no recovery time between battles. It's designed to be impossible to survive. And council judgment would involve presenting evidence of your worthiness to a panel of the most traditional, politically motivated Alphas in existence, Xavier answers. They would examine your bloodline, your accomplishments, your contributions to supernatural society, given your background. He doesn't need to finish. Arya understands perfectly. She has no political connections, no impressive achievements, nothing that would convince traditional Alphas she deserves to be queen. "There's a third option," Caspian says quietly. "I could renounce my claim to you, acknowledge the challenge as valid, and allow the council to arrange a more suitable mating for the Alpha King position." "No." Arya's response is immediate and fierce. I won't let you sacrifice our bond because of Marcus's jealousy. You won't let me. Caspian raises an eyebrow, though his tone carries affection rather than challenge. Are you giving your Alpha King orders, little wolf? I'm reminding my mate that we face this together or not at all. Arya stands, decision crystallizing in her mind. If they want to challenge my worthiness, let them. I'll prove I belong at your side. Arya, you don't understand the risks. I understand perfectly, she interrupts Xavier's warning. They think I'm weak, unsuitable, a liability to Caspian's power. Fine. Let me show them exactly what kind of Luna I intend to be. Caspian studies her face with growing admiration. What did you have in mind? Ancient pack law works both ways. Arya's mind races as she recalls her research into werewolf traditions. If they can invoke the right of worthiness, I can invoke the Luna's response, single combat against a champion representing each challenging pack. Xavier looks stunned. The Luna's response hasn't been used in 3 centuries. Most modern wolves don't even know it exists. But it's still legally binding, Arya insists. If I defeat their champions, they have to acknowledge my worthiness and accept the mating without further challenge. And if you lose, Caspian asks, though his tone suggests he already knows the answer. Then I don't deserve to be your queen anyway. Arya meets his gaze steadily. But I won't lose, Caspian. I have something they don't understand. I'm fighting for love, not pride. The formal challenge arrives that afternoon, delivered by official council messenger along with documentation that makes the threat undeniably real. 6-pack leaders, led by Marcus Shadowpine, formally contest Caspian's choice of mate and demand resolution through ancient rite. They expect you to choose council judgment, Caspian observes as he reviews the legal papers. Marcus probably told them you'd never risk combat to protect me. Marcus never really knew me at all, Arya replies, signing her acceptance of the Luna's response with steady hands. He saw what he wanted to see, a compliant female who would accept whatever scraps of attention he offered. And what will they see when you face their champions? Arya looks out the window at Caspian's training grounds, where pack warriors practice combat techniques that could kill lesser wolves. Tomorrow, she'll stand in that ring and fight for her right to love the most powerful alpha in North America. They'll see their future queen, she says with quiet confidence. And they'll learn that some bonds are worth bleeding for. Caspian moves to stand behind her, his arms encircling her waist as his presence wraps around her like armor. I love you, Arya Moonstone. Whatever happens tomorrow, remember that. I love you too. She leans back against his solid strength. And after tomorrow, the whole supernatural world will know exactly why the moon goddess chose me for you. The Luna's response will begin at dawn. The ancient amphitheater carved into Caspian's mountain territory fills with werewolves from across North America as word of the Luna's response spreads through supernatural communities. Arya has never seen so many alphas in one place. Their combined dominance creates an atmosphere thick with power and barely contained violence. 6 champions. Xavier reports as they review the final arrangements. Marcus chose himself, naturally. The others selected their strongest warriors, all experienced fighters with multiple combat victories. Arya nods, her focus turned inward as she prepares mentally and physically for what's to come. She spent the night in meditation and prayer, centering herself on the truth that matters most. She belongs at Caspian's side, and she'll prove it with blood and determination. The rules are simple, Elder Morrison, serving as official witness, announces to the assembled crowd. Single combat shifted form, each fight concludes with death or clear submission. The Luna candidate must defeat all 6 champions to prove her worthiness, and if she falls, Marcus calls out, his voice carrying false concern over obvious anticipation. Then the mating claim is voided, and the Alpha King must select a more suitable mate. Elder Morrison's words carry the weight of ancient law. Arya steps into the center of the stone ring. immediately feeling the weight of hundreds of supernatural gazes assessing her worthiness. She's wearing simple fighting leathers that allow for easy shifting, her hair braided back for combat efficiency. Compared to the massive warriors preparing to face her, she looks delicate, almost fragile. First champion, Elder Morrison calls, a hulking alpha from the Montana territories enters the ring, easily twice Arya's size in human form, with scars that speak of dozens of previous victories. The crowd murmurs appreciation for his obvious strength and experience. Begin, Elder Morrison declares. Both fighters shift simultaneously, the alpha becoming a grey-brown beast built for power and intimidation. Arya's silver wolf is smaller, but moves with fluid grace that speaks of different advantages: speed, intelligence, and desperate motivation. The first fight sets the tone for all that follow. Arya doesn't try to match her opponent's brute strength. Instead, she uses superior agility and tactical thinking, wearing him down with precision strikes while avoiding his killing blows. When she finally brings him down with a perfectly timed attack to his hind leg, the crowd falls silent with shocked appreciation. 5 more champions follow, each presenting different challenges that test Arya's adaptability and endurance. A speed-focused fighter from the California Pax who nearly matches her agility. A defensive specialist from the Great Lakes who absorbs punishment while looking for counterattack opportunities. A vicious brawler from the Texas territory who fights with no regard for his own safety. By the 4th fight, Arya is bleeding from multiple wounds, her enhanced healing struggling to keep up with accumulated damage. But something extraordinary happens as she continues fighting. Her wolf grows stronger, more focused, drawing on reserves she didn't know she possessed. She's not just surviving, Dr. Martinez observes to Caspian as they watch Arya defeat her 5th opponent. She's evolving, becoming something more than she was. Caspian nods, pride and worry warring in his expression. The Luna's response doesn't just test worthiness, it creates it. She's being forged into the queen she was meant to become. The final champion is Marcus himself, fresh and uninjured, while Arya struggles to maintain her footing. The crowd senses the dramatic conclusion approaching as former mates face off in ritual combat that will determine the future of supernatural royalty. Ready to yield, Arya? Marcus taunts as they circle each other in wolf form. You've proven your point. No one could question your courage now. Instead of responding, Arya attacks with desperate fury that catches Marcus off guard. This isn't just about proving worthiness anymore. It's about settling every moment of rejection, every casual dismissal, every time he made her feel insufficient. The final battle is brutal and personal. Former intimates turned enemies, fighting with knowledge of each other's weaknesses. But Marcus makes a fatal error. He underestimates how much Arya has changed, how much stronger she's become since finding her true mate. When she stands victorious over his submitted form, the amphitheater erupts in acknowledgement of her triumph. 6 champions defeated, worthiness proven beyond question. The Luna's response concluded in victory. Arya Moonstone has become Arya Blackwater, queen of the supernatural world. The formal mating ceremony takes place 3 days later under the full moon, with representatives from every major supernatural faction in attendance. The ancient amphitheater has been transformed into something magical. Thousands of candles create rivers of light, while wild roses bloom out of season in honor of the new Lunar Queen. Arya stands at the ceremonial altar wearing a gown that seems woven from moonbeams themselves. Her silver hair crowned with a circlet that belonged to Caspian's ancestors. The bruises from her combat trials have healed, leaving her looking radiant and powerful, every inch the queen she fought to become. 300 years I waited, Caspian says, as they exchange vows before the assembled supernatural community. 300 years of faith that somewhere in the world lived the other half of my soul. Tonight, that faith is rewarded. His golden eyes hold depths of emotion that make Arya's breath catch. In them, she sees not just love, but recognition of their shared destiny, appreciation for the journey that brought them together. and absolute certainty about their future. I came to this mountain territory broken and rejected, Shreya responds, her voice carrying clearly through the moonlit amphitheater. I leave tonight whole and chosen, not just as your mate, but as the woman I was always meant to become. Thank you for seeing my worth when I couldn't see it myself. Elder Morrison performs the ancient bonding ritual, binding their hands with cords blessed by moonlight, while their wolves recognize and accept the eternal connection. When Caspian's bite marks her throat, gentle this time, ceremonial rather than claiming, power flows between them that makes every supernatural being present feel the strength of their bond. By moon and blood, by choice and destiny, I pronounce you eternally mated, Elder Morrison declares, as silver light erupts around the couple. Long live the Alpha King and his Queen! The celebration that follows lasts until dawn, with pack members and visiting dignitaries offering tribute to their new rulers. Arya moves through the crowds with growing confidence, her enhanced abilities allowing her to sense the genuine respect and acceptance she's earned through combat and courage. No regrets, Emma asks during a quiet moment, her friend having arrived from the Northern Ridge Pack to witness the ceremony. Only that it took Marcus's betrayal to lead me here, Arya admits, watching Caspian coordinate with various pack leaders about territorial agreements and resource sharing. I wasted so much time believing I wasn't good enough for true love. And now, Arya looks around at the supernatural community celebrating her ascension to Queen, then at her mate whose devotion spans centuries. Now I know that some endings are really beginnings in disguise. As the formal celebration winds down, Caspian and Arya retreat to their private chambers for the first time as truly bonded mates. The connection between them pulses with completed recognition. No longer the desperate need of courtship, but the settled contentment of souls, finally united. My queen, Caspian murmurs against her ear as they move together with the rhythm of destiny fulfilled. My king, Arya responds, her voice filled with wonder at how perfectly they fit together, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Later, as they lie entwined beneath silk sheets with moonlight painting silver patterns across their skin, Arya marvels at the journey that brought her to this moment. What are you thinking? Caspian asks, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. That Marcus was right about one thing, Arya says thoughtfully. This mating will destabilize every political alliance in North America, worried about pack politics already. Caspian's voice carries amused affection. Not worried, excited, Arya clarifies, her eyes bright with possibilities. The old ways weren't working, Caspian. Too much emphasis on bloodlines and political advantage. Not enough on actual leadership and mutual support. Maybe it's time for change. Caspian studies her face in the moonlight, seeing not just his beloved mate, but a true partner in the work of ruling supernatural society. What did you have in mind, my revolutionary queen? Alliance based on merit instead of birthright. Cooperation instead of competition. A supernatural world where rejected mates find new beginnings and true bonds. Triumph over political convenience. Arya's voice grows stronger with each word. We have the power to reshape everything, Caspian. The question is whether we're brave enough to use it, looking at his fierce, brilliant mate, whose worthiness she proved through blood and determination. Caspian knows the answer without hesitation. Together, he promises, sealing their shared future with a kiss that tastes like moonlight and infinite possibility. The Alpha King and his Queen are ready to change the world. Don't forget to subscribe to Alpha. Desire for more supernatural romance that proves love conquers all. What did you think of Arya's journey from rejection to royalty? Comment below with your favorite moment from her transformation.